Hello, it is GT time. It is GameTrailers' new show. I will be acting as our moderator, essentially, and then with us is a very uniquely talented and knowledgeable panel. Brandon Jones.
Hello.
Daniel Bloodworth.
Hi.
And Michael Damiani.
Unique and talented.
Uniquely talented.
Uniquely talented. You're
There's
like
nothing unique about you.
No, I'm both.
But your talents are unique.
I'm not just talented, I'm unique and talented.
You're pushing it.
Get it right.
You're pushing it.
uniquely
Get
talented,
it right.
Michael Damiani, and knowledgeable too. Uniquely knowledgeable.
So you're unique.
Oh, I didn't want to
unique?
give too much credit there.
So this is what's going on in the last week. Let's up to the minute discuss what is going on in the world of video games.
Because there's a lot going on in the world of video games.
Always.
It's a good week.
And we need to cover news.
You sound facetious right now. Why do you use that?
No, I'm trying to be serious.
It's the way he is, man.
That's
That's as serious as he gets.
So actually, I mean, let's start. Let's start with probably the biggest news that's just dropped this morning. Edge straight out reported that Sony will be showing a VR headset at GDC this week. Like they're so confident that it will happen that they just reported it. Should we just accept that is fact at this point?
I mean, that thing's been rumored for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, usually when there's smoke, there's fire. I think someone finally just tipped them off. Was like, hey, I think someone at Sony was like, yeah, we're going to show it off. We need to let's get people excited about that. I think it's coming. I think they're definitely showing that there or something like that there. I think after like what Oculus did, it only makes sense that like Sony's going to try and do that. So I think it's a safe bet. What do you think?
They got to do something with all those 3D movies, right?
What 3D movies do they have? Nobody's buying 3D movies anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that this is the day that I brought my Virtual Boy in, so there we go.
It's a little
So
similar.
It comes full circle.
Brandon, are you buying it? Are you convinced that Sony VR headset is a real thing at this point?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. If they're as far along as they are in the Oculus, I wouldn't be surprised if they were kind of holding back, knowing that, like, we're not going to do what Oculus did, where it's like take the Kickstarter route, which is like, hey, we duct taped this thing, or here, you can try it. Like, they want to have a much cleaner model, a much more official announcement, when it comes out. But they probably want to stir up a little buzz at the same time. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
happened.
I mean, there's got to be other players who are like trying to get out there with other VR headsets. I think Sony just saw either they were probably developing alongside when Oculus was coming out, or they saw like the Oculus test units and the positive reception of that. But just look at how many of the crazy videos have been going on. Like people have been adapting. Like what I saw Zelda in Oculus Rift. It's like this is amazing. Like this thing is like people thought it was a fad. I think it has a little bit of staying power. I think it has the potential to stay, and I think Sony likes to bet on that stuff. They can be wrong, but I think this is a gamble they're going to take. Mike, I'm curious if this is just going to be tied to the PS4 only, like an accessory for PS4, or if they're going to try and pitch this as something that goes along with it. Like they kind of like tapered off their TV division recently.
Right.
But I want to see if there's a device they're going to market as it could be used with other things other than the PS4. That's what I'm curious to see. Is it going to be a bundle with a new PS4? Is it going to be accessories? Is it going to be available this fall with some killer app that's going to launch on PS4? That's what I want to know. I think it's foregone that headset's coming at some point. I want to see what is it going to be for, and what are the things that are going to be playing on it.
So that's actually something I wanted to talk about today. Is do you foresee that this is something like the PS2 was like, oh, it's a cheap DVD player. PS3, oh, it's a cheap Blu-ray player. Do you see PS4 potentially being, it's a cheap VR machine? Brandon, do you think that's a possibility?
No.
Okay.
Well, not for me. I don't.
Do you not believe in VR? You don't want that?
I think VR is cool. I think VR is kind of like motion, where it needs the app. It needs some kind of application that makes it worth it. I don't think games. I think playing Zelda in VR would make me vomit so fast. Like anything familiar where my brain's like already experienced it, not VR. It's just the war that would rage between my hemispheres would be brutal. And so I just think I think it's going to be a long time before we see something really break out with VR. It could be totally wrong. But just from my experience with the Oculus, it just doesn't.
Would you play on Oculus?
I played Team Fortress, and I played the demo that they had, where the villa, where you're just walking around the house. And it was kind of fun, but it was like kind of having like a TV just like right up against your face.
So a strange part of that story was that Edge's person they were speaking to, I think still unnamed, said that it's better than the Oculus Rift.
Cool. Did they say how?
Qualified, and then better than the first round of Oculus Rift that went out.
Yeah.
Thing is more like on par with what's they're currently developing.
The second one, the Crystal something.
Yeah.
Right.
Crystal Cove, I think.
Crystal Cove is exactly what it is. Strange that there's like a VR arms race upcoming.
Yeah, well, That's probably just the marketing speak. This Sony guy trying to leak, hey, it's going to be better. It's way better.
Yeah,
I mean, what's his name? Carmack just left id to go head up Oculus, correct? I'm not wrong in that. And I mean, that's the best Carmack when he's turned loose. It's it's technology focused. Let's start developing, pioneering new technology. I have a hard time believing Sony's VR headset will be out of the gate will be as good as whatever the iteration of Oculus will be at that time. I do think what you were saying earlier, Kyle, that making it a little bit more affordable, so it becomes this is the de facto way for the average consumer to get in on VR. If that is going to be the next thing that game companies are going to try and do. I just don't know how cheap I personally don't know how cheap the technology is. It sounds like no matter what, it's got to be okay. So an analogy I always use is hey, there's a jet fighter that usually costs $10 billion, but we're going to give you the discount version, which is only $1 billion. Man, you're saving $9 billion. But who the hell can afford $1 billion? That's going to be the problem here, I think, with this headset is that it's going to be so expensive for the average person that even hey, we're a third of the price. People are gonna be that's still way too expensive for an accessory. Who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us. I mean, PS4 came out at way cheaper than some of us thought. So
yeah, there's almost wiggle room now actually to charge a lot for a VR headset. I feel like a combo.
Speaking of wiggle room, I don't know how much. How much lag do they have to account for? That's one of the things that people are going to be wondering about when these things start competing. Is if you start moving your head really fast and then the gyros get kind of off, like they would with a Wii remote, it's oh wait, where, and then you get that weird shaky thing, that's one of those things that they've got to fine tune.
That is a crazy thing. Is apparently VR is very demanding. The games we see right now wouldn't play well in VR because you have to play it twice. You're actually rendering it twice on two different eyeballs. So, the games that are going to come out for VR will be a little more simplistic, I guess, graphically. Is that?
Well, it'd have to be first person. I don't see the benefit of playing a third person game in VR. It's just weird to me that you do kind of get that God feel playing third person. Where I guess I am kind of God, but floating behind this guy.
It's all about immersion.
But it's you really get that weird feeling of well, who am I? If I'm looking over there, but the character's still here, that just seems kind of imbalanced to me.
Yeah, I guess that is how it would work, isn't it?
So I'm thinking there's no game I can think of that would be the perfect app for either Oculus or Sony's thing. It would have to be. It would have to be something
probably
totally new.
Someone's probably already done it, right? Minecraft with Oculus Rift. You can go through Minecraft and play that.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
It's really
something like Rust.
Something simplistic like that. But that makes me wonder, Oculus is going to be available on PC on multiple platforms, which means any kind of developer can get in on it really easily. I'm concerned about this device is only going to be for PS4. What developers are really going to put all their development resources into making a game that explicitly uses or caters to this Sony VR headset? That seems like a big gamble for Sony to take. I'm worried that it's going to be a tacked-on functionality for first-person shooters and other first-person games, rather than you're not going to. I don't see a lot of exclusive software that's you've got to play it with this device, otherwise you're missing the experience. That seems like a big risk for developers as well, and not just Sony. So that's why I'm curious. What I was saying earlier, I'm curious to see if they're going to hey, no, you can use this on your PC, you can use this on a Linux device, you can use it on whatever to take advantage of it.
I think that might be true. I mean, reading through Edge's story, the word PlayStation 4 appeared very few times. Actually, it's just this is Sony's VR initiative, and it might be a thing like that. They might have more than one. They might have the PS4
multiple
cheaper.
SKUs.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited to at least try it out someday.
Bring a bucket.
Cannot wait to be walking around the office with those
bucket?
things.
Is that what that is?
Yes.
What about
I have
walking
here,
around the
just in
office?
case.
We're gonna in the capture station, just walking around with those on.
Like a
It's
bib.
gonna be so great. No, live streams are going to be even better. When people live stream themselves playing Oculus Rift.
No, it'll be bad because it's just the feed is just weird little squares.
Trying to interact with the chat, hang on, I got to take off my headset real quick. Oh, hey,
well,
what's up?
You brought up a good point. It's
Twitch user dude.
You know how
33?
even putting the strap on a Wii remote, it's I guess I will. It's even that kind of seems excessive. I can't imagine every single time I want to play Minecraft. I'm okay, here we go. I'm gonna put this thing on, and then I'm playing Minecraft for 2 hours with this thing on my nose. I wouldn't. That doesn't sound like a fun experience.
People are never going to leave their desk with these things.
Yeah, what if you're a cool married guy, right? And you're just no, honey, I'm sorry, a bloop, and you're just gone for the rest of the night.
Tell me more about
that. Works.
Yeah,
yeah,
Tell me about marriage being cool.
Yeah, exactly. No one who's married is cool.
Yeah, I mean, see, I haven't got to play around with the Oculus a lot, so I still have like a lot of questions, like, you know, because like with the, you know, again, going back to the Virtual Boy, it's like you had to stop playing after every 15 or 20 minutes to give your eyes a break, you know? Like, I don't see that problem going away necessarily with better technology.
I totally do. You don't see that problem of, like, that just seems like a little obstacle. It's like, oh no, we'll make it easier on your eyes. We'll fix that part. You don't see that going away?
I think it was that problem with that was mostly aimed at like younger audiences though. Like Virtual Boy, didn't they like say like, hey, we made a mistake?
No, everybody like felt weird coming out of that thing. I mean, it's like it kind of induced the motion sickness.
The Virtual Boy was just like weird in itself. I don't think it was a very like well designed, like looking, like it looked kind of weird. Like everyone, I think people thought it was gonna be a headset you strapped on, and it was like on that little like tripod stand, and you had to like put it like that was just weird and stuff.
Good night, honey.
Yeah, like these headsets, like you know, they hook onto your head. You can move around and stuff. Like I think Virtual Boy was just too ahead of its time, and it also was like black, or what was the color scheme?
It's red.
Yeah, red and black, whatever. And it was just very awkward to use. It wasn't very comfortable to play, and I think at that time, like Nintendo was like they also were dealing with some backlash, like, well, can children play this? Is 3D and like this headset really good for them? It was just a mix, like a perfect storm of bad shit, I think.
And I think VR might be good. I think it might turn out great.
Did anyone play
That's nice, Kyle.
the VR stuff at Disney Quest?
What is Disney Quest?
Do you know what
In
Disney
Florida?
Quest? Yes.
Yeah, it's like
they had
Okay,
like
real quick. What is this? What is it?
five-story
So,
arcade.
I don't think it exists anymore. Yeah, it was like it was basically GameWorks before GameWorks existed, I believe.
And is it in
But
Disney World?
It was at Disney World. It was in Pleasure Island, which I don't think exists
or
anymore.
downtown Disney, basically that like
It was
that string of shopping.
It was called. They called it that. I think they changed the name when they redesigned it. But anyway, there was a lightsaber type game where you put on the headset and you held something and you saw yourself fighting like other lightsabers. They couldn't use like call it Jedi and stuff.
Yeah.
But you were literally fighting with a lightsaber.
Is that what the
And
controller was? You held the
you
lightsaber?
held the controller. You were in like that like a little round enclosed area, so you wouldn't walk off like an idiot.
No, I was in one of those.
And they kind of like
Back in the day.
they put some harness on you so that you didn't go too far either, and you could feel impacts. And you literally had like a boss battle with someone, so you were seeing the whole world, and you had a lightsaber. It looked like N64 graphics though for back then. And then there was also like there was an Aladdin one where you rode on the carpet and you went through Agrabah. And then there was a multi-level one, like a shooter, where you sat down with the VR headset on, and it moved you up and down, like it felt like you were in like a helicopter going up and down. And my parents left me there one day, like for a few hours, with my brother.
And you were good. You were probably like,
It was
whatever.
great.
Yeah.
It was amazing, but we never got to go back there.
You didn't have to use quarters or anything?
No, you actually had to pay like a fee. You had the card thing that they were using, and you paid for like so much time. And you could either pay for time or how many attractions you wanted to get. It was kind of like that whole ticket system. Five tickets to go on this, so 5 tokens to go on this. You didn't put any physical coins.
So in the future, you'll be able to go back there, basically. You can buy a
Someone
VR
is
headset.
going, I'm hoping someone will find versions of those games and put them on Oculus Rift or the Sony VR headset.
Anyways, speaking more about Sony news, last week Jack Tretton left his position as CEO and president of SCEA. Did anyone here see that coming?
Nope.
Yeah, that was weird, right?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't really like surprised by it. He's been there since the 90s. So he's been there a long time.
Yeah.
And they also just got done with a big hurdle, which was launching this new generation. So like that actually seems to me, the more I think about it, to be a good time to leave. Where it's like, okay, we got through, we launched the console. Sales are doing good. We seem to be up on Microsoft as far as this generation goes for now. We're in the lead. I'm going to move on to something else.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're all good. Job's done. Bye.
Yeah, he dropped the mic. He's out.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, I kind of joke about it, but it's kind of funny. It's like well, I'm looking for a challenge. How about Nintendo? Okay, Nintendo, you guys need some help. Like, can I get on over there?
I would love it if you joined Nintendo. What is it?
No,
what are you holding
that'd
back
be
right
cool.
now?
No, I just remember the speculation when it happened. Like everyone wanted to know the reason why he left.
And what was the leading speculation?
There were people who thought that. I mean, one of the ideas was that he like wanted to renegotiate his contract, and seeing as they came from PS3 was like always in third place to towards the end they kind of like picked it up and actually started outselling Xbox month to month.
Yeah.
And then they had that great messaging all last year for PS4, and he was kind of like at the head of that, like at all like their public events. And then PS4 comes out and sells amazing. He's probably like, hey guys, like my contract's out for renegotiation. Look what I've helped you guys do. maybe there's like, maybe some things were, in motion and, gears are changing and they're like, sorry,
Man, I would pay
that
anything.
that would suck. I mean, who knows? That's
Yeah.
totally like theory. There's no evidence for that. The other thing could have just been like, hey, like he wanted a challenge. Like I want to go out on top, man. This is great. Like people are interested in me. And, give me a month or two to like chill, and then I'll be back. I'll be back somewhere else. But like I don't think he's messaged anything. He's just kind of been like silent. Like I'm gone.
He hasn't. Yeah, he wrote a really nice letter on the PlayStation blog, which was cool.
And that was how those things worked. If you get like some kind of like severance and stuff, they probably like tell you like, hey, you can't like talk bad about the company and stuff, otherwise, we're gonna come after you and you're gonna like go after that money we gave you. Plus, he doesn't want to like burn any bridges. I mean, he did all that work for them. I just saw like there were some crazier theories that said like he wanted the promotion to what was a recent CEO promotion that just happened. Like they changed like the executives up. When they reshifted all their.
He wanted to move out of SCEA
he
into
wanted
Sony.
Like he was
yeah.
expecting some kind of promotion there. There were crazy theories about that. I don't know if they're crazy, but there were some very like profound theories about he wanted more. He was
Going from crazy to profound. I'm not following that jump.
No.
the meter.
Like upward mobility. Like he wanted to move up into a higher position. There's very few of those. That opening comes like once every like so often, and it opened up, and he didn't get it. They went with someone else.
You're right. Then it's like 5 more years here.
Yeah, he's like either that, like I go and try and go somewhere else. I think when you said he's been with that company for so long.
Yeah, even something like that isn't necessarily bitter. If like you think about like a job opened up and you're like, oh, you turn your back on Sony, just because a job opened up and you didn't get it. It's like, well, when you're in a position. Like Trenton, you have to think, like, what am I going to do with the next 10 years of my life? Like, am I going to basically stay where I am now? And I like my job, but it's also really fun to, like, try new things. And like you were saying, like, go to some place like Nintendo or go someplace where you can make a bigger difference, where you look back on your year and you've accomplished more rather than just succeeded, rather than just had good numbers.
So Ballmer left, Trenton left. Who's Reggie next?
Reggie's fine, man. Reggie loves his job. He loves Pikmin. He loves the purple Pikmin. He loves Zelda.
Is Iwata next then?
Yeah, it might be actually. Before we move off,
yeah.
I do want to share a comment I liked. This is on like our little GT news. LMAC Punch said, Jack Turner was a great guy. He will be missed. I will always remember his speech at E3 2013 when he revealed the price of the PS4 and its stance on used games. I must have watched that part like a dozen times.
I would also like to point out, because that was a very famous thing and a very recent one, but I really liked his speech after the Sony got hacked.
Hack?
That was so great. Like he just had a really great air about him, and like I'm always really intent on that. Whenever I look at press conferences, that like I can tell that it's like presidential candidates. You can tell the difference between the guys that go up and are like, I have something to say. I really feel passionately about this, and like this is my script. This is what I need to say. God, please get me off this stage. And he always just seemed really comfortable. He was always like the first guy that came out and like introduced everybody. Always said thanks for waiting in line. Always said thanks for coming out at E3. Always said this is about you guys. It just seemed really genuine, and like that's real hard,
Exactly. He seemed like a cool guy.
So yeah, that's. I don't know if I necessarily like need him at Sony. I mean, I don't think Sony's. I think Sony's going to miss him, but I think he's okay. I think Sony's okay.
Everything's okay.
E3s will miss a little thing without him, but maybe this will give us a chance to see Kaz come back.
No, dude, Kaz is too big to deal with those little E3 speeches now.
Little E3 speeches.
But actually, so I do actually want to talk about the bigger picture here. You kind of brought up about like layoffs in the news. We hear them a lot, especially Sony Santa Monica, which is funny. You could even like pan over. There it is. But fired like 50 people recently. Amy Hennig left Naughty Dog last week. Basically, I want to talk to you guys about how you feel about like layoffs in the news, whether it's a big deal or like a natural part of like development cycles. Do you know?
I mean,
how do you feel about all this?
It very much depends on the company and the company culture, right? Because like it's clear that a lot of studios are fairly project based, and so it's like. Yeah, when Thief is done and then Eidos Montreal lays guys off, and that's not at all a surprise because
that's like normal, right? That's
because it's like they hired these guys to get through the crunch and to like get all these art assets and stuff done, and they probably still have a lot of their core team, that did the groundwork on that game, and they're probably going to do the groundwork on what they're going to work on next. Whereas if you took a look at say somebody like Nintendo. Like, the idea of them getting rid of people is just completely foreign. Like, that would be really weird. because those guys, they're always going to be working on something. So it's like, okay, this project's done. Okay, we'll move you over, start working on something else.
Smaller teams
even
really
get
can.
2 or 3 people together to start working on a little idea of their own. But they wouldn't just be out the door just because a project got canceled.
Right.
Yeah, it's more shocking when like an actual studio or an actually like development team gets shuttered. That's where it's
like
abnormal.
irrational.
Yeah, or where a key figure leaves and it's kind of like odd timing. Like Amy Hennig leaving
seemed weird.
What's up with that?
It felt weird.
Or Ken Levine leaving, it's like, whoa, like, what's going on? Like, this is a big deal. Or when Blazinski and all the Epic guys left and like moved on. That type of stuff, I think, draws more attention because the development studios, like, people like, what was the one I always come out? Like, people say they wish, like, people go back to the glory days of Rare and, like, they can make the old games. But, like, most of the talent that was at Rare when they were making those great games moved on a long time ago. Like, if Rare were to make, like, a new Banjo-Kazooie, even if it was a platform, it would not be the same style. Like, they could try and mimic it, but it would not be the same, like, soul as that. So it's bigger news to me when key members of the development team move on to something else. And it usually happens, when it happens at the end of, like, completion of, like, a series or a trilogy, it kind of feels like there's, like, creative differences, like, we don't want to make any more, we're kind of done with this, but no, the series is making us way too much money, we got to make more, and you're like, you know what, I'm done with this, I don't want to make any more. Or it's like, no, I am done with this, they're not going to make any more, and I want to go somewhere else and make more games. I do feel like, regardless, though, like, whether it's expected, like it is all those contract employees, it just shows that, like, there's a lot of high turnover in this industry, and I think in more recent years, just the amount of times we are hearing about this and how commonplace it is, it feels that it's like a very, I don't want to say cutthroat, but very, very chaotic industry to be in. Especially now, like, it seemed like last year was really hard on a lot of studios, like trying to develop that so-called middle ground area for games. The middle like level games didn't like really succeed anymore. It's either you had budget games or you had AAA games, and if you went AAA and your game failed, like you were screwed. Like your studio, like a studio didn't make sales projections, you were done. Like you were like closed down, or you were reassigned to some like janitorial type series or something. Like you could like do ports or something like that.
Do you remember that article on
Ports are the janitors of the video game industry.
Remember that article on Next Level Games though that was published like a couple of months back or something, where they kind of went in and talked about like their office culture and stuff like that. I mean, that is like, I read that and I'm like, this sounds like a great place to work.
What is that called? Second party? Would you call that second party when you're basically exclusively making games for one console? For one.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, I think second party kind of had like an element of ownership to it as well.
Yeah. And so there's definitely benefit. It's a little cushier, right? Like it's a little. You feel a little better in that position where like your job is less at risk, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, just you have this, just a different way of thinking about things, and just like you're gonna make the kind of game that you want to make rather than like pushing to, please some market research or whatever.
I guess that's kind of very closely related to a quote that made headlines this week when a person from Drive Club said Sony is okay with us going back to the drawing board, and then we did that. Mm-hmm. So strange to me that it's just like, you know what, like take your time with that game, as opposed to most other publishers who will say, we need to put this out now.
There's probably a reason behind that.
What's the reason behind that?
There are some people saying that Drive Club. So the whole, in a nutshell, Sony's the PlayStation 4.
Weird theory?
PS4 is originally supposed to be just as DRM heavy as Microsoft, but they decided to like be ambiguous at first. Then they saw what Microsoft was doing and like, oh crap, saw the reaction to that, and then like, nope, we're gonna say all the right stuff now. We're gonna like promise all the things that people want, say what people want to hear, and it worked out perfectly. But Drive Club was a victim of that because that game was designed to be like, the game was designed to be always online, and that the system would be always connected. So kind of.
I love your Damiani theories.
Forza 5.
I love that.
Or sorry, Forza was just like that on Xbox One.
Yeah.
And the Drivatar stuff have a little bit of weird things going on with it. Like it wasn't totally perfect.
Well, I mean,
Bloodworth swears by Drivatars. He loves them.
Even if it went well for you, I heard some people have a little weird things, and the developers attributed to like, hey, we had to rework it a little bit because your system wasn't not expected to be always online. And same thing. Like there's.
I mean, I'm a little confused by how some of that's supposed to work out, because I mean they are pretty always online, anyways. Yeah, because like with Forza, like they've got some preloaded drivatars on there or whatever, but then it like as soon as you connect, it downloads whatever they've got in the cloud at that point.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Drive Club is definitely meant to be a social, always connected online game. I don't see how that's changed. Like any of the PS4 policies affect that. Like that just doesn't.
Yeah,
I don't connect the dots there because you have online only games.
I don't personally
you have
know
stuff like Mag.
People were like saying that they like, oh, we'd heard from people that's why. So that could be why, like why Sony's being so back to the point, like the reason Sony might be so generous with the Drive Club development team is because they screwed them over. Like, hey guys, like we know we kind of promised you this shit and it didn't happen, so take the time to get this game right. We don't want to release like in a crappy situation. Could have been the same. I mean, could have happened to other stuff as well. Like we don't know, but that could be the reason.
Okay, I mean, let's move on to news bits because we got more bad news. The Witcher's been delayed until February 2015.
It's good news. You know why?
Why is that good news?
That means Project X can win RPG of the Year now. No,
X
hands down.
is not coming out this year either. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't think it's coming out this year.
I'm kidding. No, that is pretty shitty news because now what the hell do we look forward to?
That's exactly my question. Is like, Brandon, what is you looking forward to for the rest of this year? What do you like? What do you even want to play?
Batman.
Oh yeah, Batman. We got Batman.
Oh, of course, Batman.
Batman's gonna be goaty. There's like, what else is coming out this year now, right?
Yeah, Watch Dogs.
Yeah.
Well, Watch Dogs is now coming out this year.
May.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, I'm not as hyped on it, but probably Destiny. It's
Destiny
probably
is
be a
coming
game
out.
like once you get into.
Forgot
it,
about
like,
that game.
Oh,
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Forgot that game's still coming.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about this.
But I'm not at all surprised by Witcher. I pretty much thought Witcher was going to come out in that time frame anyways. Same as I'm not at all surprised that Forza Horizon sequel is coming this year. Like when that leaked, it's like, duh, that's happening.
Forza's gonna be every year.
I've known that was happening since the last one came out, basically. Unless it had bombed, that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see some weird Battlefield. We'll see Call of Duty and everything, but it's weird to see everything kind of pushed off. There's not as much to be excited about, I think, at this point in a generation as there normally is.
This is just this time of year to me. There's a lot of stuff that gets held till E3, and it's like, oh, here's a game. It's coming out this year, and then and there it is. You know,
that almost never happens.
Yes,
With a huge game that's announced at E3 is coming out just a few months later. Just hold on a few months, it's coming out.
Yeah, I mean those games happen all the time.
Maybe for Nintendo.
But you see, it's still March, so like between now and E3, you're going to start hearing about a lot of those. We haven't heard about Assassin's Creed yet. You know that's coming this year.
Yeah, that was just going to say.
I mean, at least from the PlayStation perspective, like I was having a talk with Ben Moore the other day about. It feels like when we heard The Witcher was delayed, it's like what the heck are we looking forward to? And this is kind of the same dilemma we were in 8 years ago when the PlayStation 3 came out. Everyone. Like it didn't have a great launch, but then people were like wanting the reason to get it, like that piece of software. There was like nothing for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it was Metal Gear Solid 4 in 2008 was the first time I even paid attention to that.
Yeah. And
you have Ground Zeroes coming out, but don't think that's going to sell systems or anything like that because it's multi-platform, it's not exclusive, and as good as Infinite Second Son might be, I do not feel that is going to be the big system seller. That's not what
they don't have to have a system seller right now.
They don't need a system seller right now. They don't.
Selling systems,
but eventually,
right.
like people, like some of us, like what are we going to play on there after like Infamous? Like what else is coming out on that system that? Like, why did I get it at launch other than like,
Final Fantasy 14's coming, Mike?
I was just going to say that jokingly, but as long as you brought it up.
No, but I feel like this is how it goes. Like a lot of the consoles when they launch, there's like this year period where it's just kind of you get definitive editions. I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of definitive editions this year. We got Tomb Raider. You're going to start seeing GTA 5 definitive edition on Xbox
Uncharted
One.
probably will be coming around, right?
Yeah, that rumor about those coming out, and then that weird made up PSP one. You see that?
Oh yeah, Uncharted will probably be this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be next March, but it could be this year.
I mean, he means Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
Are you crazy, man?
No.
All right, side bet. We're placing a side bet right now.
Is that the new side bet?
My bet is there's no way Uncharted 4 comes out this year.
Mid-October.
Mid-October even. That's
Wow.
so early. What are you doing? Okay, that's your bet. That's your.
What's the bet? What's the?
Oh, release date. Release date for Uncharted.
What are the stakes?
I know. What are the stakes?
What
You
are
know,
the
you just
stakes?
get like a wag of the finger.
Okay,
I don't know.
so the winner of the bet
Nurple.
has to wear a bow tie on the show for the entire show.
Okay, cool. For one show, got
Yeah,
it.
The
sorry,
winner?
The loser has to wear the bow tie.
Got
What did
it.
it say?
It's not a privilege to wear a bow tie. So actually, we do have good news. At least to me, Costume Quest 2 was announced this week. That's like the first sequel I've been excited for an announcement in a really long time. Am I the only one at this table excited for this game?
Are you?
I like the first one. I didn't finish it because I couldn't find
It's so
the
short.
sixth.
How do you?
There was like, well, everything is like find 6 of these and then come back here. And there was like some object, and I swear, man, I was going up and down streets. I'm like, I've been up the street again and ran around and I couldn't. Played it on the iPad though. I didn't play it on consoles.
Oh, that's interesting.
Um,
Have you both played it?
I played it to completion. I just don't know if I want a sequel. I had a great time with the original one, but I felt I got all I was going to get out of that type of experience. In fact, I felt a lot like playing like when I played the South Park game. Like they
Yeah.
felt very similar, besides the profanity and obscenities and stuff. Like this, like
Well, the idea of this
context,
kids
pretending, going around like an environment, and like having to figure out how to get past obstacle hazards and puzzles. Very like similar in that nature.
I mean, even
but
it's an RPG that takes place in like a real world, which we don't get a lot these days. Yeah.
I'm just curious what they do. I didn't read the announcement, so I'm not sure if they're actually going to stick with the Halloween theme. Is it like next Halloween, like Halloween 2, the kids are a year older, and there's
I'm
like
gonna say based on the logo, definitely Halloween again.
there's a new kid, like
Yeah.
they have an infant and it gets stolen, and they gotta go like save the infant.
But someone steals the infant.
Like the goblins
Yeah, they're
come and
brothers
steal the
and
infant.
sisters.
Sure, all right.
It's gonna be like Labyrinth.
Yoshi's
They steal
Island?
the baby.
Oh.
Yeah,
Like
the
David Bowie comes
Goblin
down.
King, yeah.
The Goblin King comes down, steals the baby, and then you and your sister have to go save the day again in your transforming rocket suit.
I really
and-
love Halloween. That's my favorite holiday. I
Okay,
love
great.
the entire month of October. Like I get super excited, so I'm all down for like horror movie marathons and whatnot. So I love having games that I can play. Like I love the expansion to Red Dead Redemption. Like I just break that out.
that's
I
so
break
good.
that out every
Yeah,
October because it's so short, and so I like the idea of not only having spooky games to play during Halloween, but smaller games. The games that you can 1 or 2 nights and you're done.
Yeah.
So,
Damiani brings up a good point, though, in that, like, maybe a better thing that I should get more excited about is not a sequel to this game, but another fun RPG that's bite-sized. That's basically what I liked about it.
Yeah.
I would be really excited if it was not if it didn't take place in Halloween. Was it going to take place in an anime convention,
Why?
Costume Quest,
All right,
Cosplay
keep
Quest.
going.
and you had to
sorry.
and they just made fun of all the anime convention tropes and anime tropes, and you basically are there
Going
and
around
you-
the convention halls.
Yes,
Like,
you got to deal
Dude,
with
we
like
can't
the.
even get Jump Ultimate Stars out here. You think they're going to be
Oh,
able to get
American
the
This is a
Anime
sick idea.
Convention.
This is actually a sick idea,
there
'cause, like,
actually is a
Every
lot of
person
potential
you
for
can
that.
battle. You can battle, like, every single
Like
person.
the first quest is like actually trying to go through the registration line, which is always atrocious and takes forever, and there's always
But
problems.
you can battle the person in front. You can brave.
Yeah, you
to
go
battle
around
the
like you
person
have
in
like
front of you in line.
the what are they called, the glompers? I forget what it's called. No one does it anymore. Like the ones where you like try to run up and just give you a random hug and
What,
shit
what
like
is
that.
anime? What is
Is that
anime
a thing?
expos?
That was a thing. They had to ban that crap because it would
Glomping?
well, someone would run up to a person in a nice costume and ruin it by like hugging them. So cosplayers would get angry and be like,
Yeah.
you guys need to crack down on it. There used to be people who would hold like
Crack
signs.
down on hugging.
There was also a really bad thing. Like they had these people walking around with these things called yaoi sticks, but they were paddles, like the fraternity paddles.
Sure.
But they said like yaoi on them, and if you slapped
Right,
them,
okay.
you know where that goes. You were supposed to turn into something if you got slapped. So in the game,
No, I don't know. What
So in the
is
game, we're not gonna
Into the lingo, Kyle.
use your imagination, but
No,
that could be
I
a
can't.
game.
Sorry,
Like that would be
please-
like a
please,
battle.
Before we move on, I need you to be very specific about what a yaoi stick does.
what do you turn into?
Turns you into a person who's into yaoi, into their fantasy.
It turns you into
Yes.
what? I don't know what a
The-
yaoi is. Sorry. Up until this point, I thought you were saying YOWEEE,
No.
like yaoi.
YAOI.
I don't know what that word means. You have to. There's gonna be viewers who don't know what that means either.
There's
all those
there's
viewers would know.
Wikipedia. for it. Don't Google search it. Type in yaoi and then
Do
type
not
in
Google
Wikipedia. So you
Okay.
actually go to the Wikipedia
Sure, I'm
page
gonna
and
have to
get
do that
a
too.
neutral description about it.
Fine. Okay.
But stuff like that.
It is time to close the show. One thing we'll always be doing before the show closes is placing a bet. And how this works is we all make a bet, and the winner of the bet gets to close the next week's show.
What if we're not on
that's
the
what
next
you
week's
win.
show? Is this it? Is this the show?
No, this is
Oh,
the
this
next
is
week's
this is
show.
our
The
permanent panel.
Oh,
yeah.
really? I'm permanent?
Yeah, you're a permanent.
Say
member of
goodbye
this
to your
panel.
Wednesday afternoons.
Ooh.
What? What was that?
Just
What?
adding into the drama.
Drama.
We have have enough of that already. Okay, so here's our
What if I leave the show next week? Is that going to be a big thing? You're going to talk about, like first Jack, now Jones leaves the show?
The person who takes your seat will, if you win the bet,
Okay,
that person
all right.
will get to
I'm not
close
going
the show.
anywhere. I just want the rules.
Yeah. We will definitely speculate about where you're going if you do leave the show and everything.
All right,
we'll
good.
do the whole shebang. Get a headline on the website. Everyone, NPDs have not been announced at the moment that we've recorded the show. So we'll learn about them by the time we record next week's show. Top 10 retail games in the United States. What will be in the number 10 spot? Damiani, we've promised you the first bet.
The latest iteration of FIFA.
That was honestly mine. I'm so jealous of that.
Is it?
Yeah. That's fine. You get it. Okay.
Ooh.
Blood, what will be number 10?
Minecraft, Xbox 360.
Okay. Brandon?
Final Fantasy X HD.
Ooh, good. And then I think number 10,
Wait,
Lego Marvel.
that comes out in March.
It already, what, really?
Oh, yeah. That's not going to be in the
Yeah.
February MPDs. Give us
Yeah,
another
you
one.
can do that.
Lego movie.
No, you can't take it. What? Oh, Lego movie game. Okay, you can have that. Yeah.
There's one you need to pick.
I said Lego Marvel.
Oh, you need to. No one should pick Bravely Default, so we can annoy Ben.
Bravely Default, I think will rank higher. I think
Yeah,
it'll actually
no.
do really well.
Probably like 6 or something.
That's our side bet. Bravely Default
Okay.
will not be in the top 10 combined. It might be in the individual SKU, but combined will not be in the top 10.
All right.
That game will sell at best 75,000. Best case scenario.
I think at this point that almost breaks top 10. I'm saying Bravely Default in top 10 is going to be in top 10. What are the conditions? What do you want for that side bet?
I have to actually play Bravely Default.
If I win, I get to wear your hat for an entire episode.
Okay. This one or the orange one?
The orange one, definitely the orange one.
The real one?
Yeah. The real
Okay.
colors.
You get the
team
orange
colors.
hat.
Yep. And if you win, I don't know. What do you want?
I get to have your new Year of Luigi thing.
Yeah.
Gets to sit by mine for the week together. Like you can have your Year of Luigi statue.
You don't know how much I hate that idea, but I accept that because I'm so confident Bravely Default be in top 10.
So they sit next to each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Back to back, they form the whole.
Stop
the
it.
whole-
It's
the
not going to
whole
happen.
thing.
But that's our bet.
That's
Side bet. It exists. Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to make this a gambling show, but it turned out to be. That is the show, everybody. Here are our Twitter names, hopefully. And
thank you, Kyle, for having the show.
oh yeah, we got it. We got it rolling. We finally got a little
bringing the news back
GT
to
time.
GT.
And now the comments will be like, "Hey, where's thanks for playing? Why'd you get rid of thanks for playing?"
Thanks for playing still exists,
Yeah,
just so
still
everyone's
exists.
clear. This is like its sister. I imagine
And you have
it's sisters.
mandatory update, and you have GT time.
Yeah, we're trying to make as
Everything's
many
covered.
shows as possible. Please comment below if you have any comments on how to make this better. But also, I'm going to start a thread on a message board about it.
On a message board?
Yeah,
Which one?
our
So
GameTrailers
fun.
message board.
Oh,
If you can
okay.
comment on this video, you can comment on our message board. So please
Maybe.
do that. What do you mean maybe?
I don't know. Sometimes
Just nothing but
sometimes it
negativity.
doesn't work.
Just tune him out. Tune him out.
Don't scare anyone off
He's
the
scared
deal.
because he made a bad bet. Just worry about it.
My Luigi will never touch your Luigi. And yeah, that's it. That's been GT time. Thank you for watching, everybody, and see you next week. I have a really cool song that's playing right now.
That's how Waluigi was born.
Yeah. Sorry?
That's how Waluigi was born.
By combining
Yeah.
two Luigis back to back.